they, Daddy? What are they doing, Daddy? What are they doing? Are they eating the bread Mommy threw outside? Where are they? I hear them. I don't see them. Oh, I see one. Oh, I see another one. Look at you. You're so upset. You're so... I know. I know. You're so upset. Where are they, my precious? Where are the babies? They're in the rain. They're in the rain. Oh, there he is. Oh, I know. I know. He's coming to get some bread. Mommy threw him bread outside. Daddy, she's sitting over there looking at you. Oh, she's gone. What happened? Hi there, and welcome to Elisa Maria Designs. I am Elisa Maria. I am the curator of my own channel, and I would like to welcome you if you're new, and welcome back if you're back. And if you are new, I do a self-care Sunday on Sundays, basically on the Book of Awakening. That's probably my constant companion, though I do refer to other books during Self-Care Sunday. But my cherished book is The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. If you have the book, you can follow along. I know some of you were introduced to it through this channel and you went out and bought the book, and that just makes my heart so happy. I hope you are still enjoying it as much as I do, and I have for years. I'm thinking about, is my future self, which is me now, doing what I had planned with my past self? And if I did, then you had a sweet little opening with Foofy, who was very sweetly watching the birds on the windowsill. And then I came to my reading and I thought, oh, that little video that I shot of Foofy is just so perfect for this reading. So I wanted to introduce myself. I'm getting ready to go over to my desk and do some diamond painting on a very large diamond painting that I've been working on for a while. I am also using a second phone that I have as a timer, and I've been keeping track of my time. Basically just by taking different size boxes. I usually do a 10 by 10, but I've made some of them smaller just to see what my time is. And I think it's always good to know. Sometimes I like to challenge myself. You know, how fast can I get through my chores in the morning that I do every morning, like make the bed, wipe down the bathroom, get the laundry together, all that stuff. So I think it's a good idea to know what your time is, because sometimes we put things off. We think, oh, maybe it's too much, or I don't have enough time, when actually you do. And what I found out was that the smaller boxes for me take me about 20 to 30 minutes, which is great. And the 10 by 10s can take me anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm doing a very large box. It's actually two 10 by 10s together. And it's the last section on the right side. And I was thinking I would do that for Self-Care Sunday. I'm not going to get through it, of course, but I'll give you a pan over of what it looks like so far. It's one of my favorite paintings. It's called The Winter Fox. And I'm really trying to dedicate myself to doing at least one block a day, even if I just do half a block in the morning and half a block in the evening. But I love this painting so much, and I want to get it completed, and I want to see what the rest of my time is. So I've been keeping a little running counter of my time. Okay, so let's get started. I'm so excited. See you in a bit. So I'm giving you guys a pan over of the canvas that I am currently working on. This is the Winter Fox. Yeah, she's big. And I'll be working on this section right here. I'm going to take 2 squares that I'm going to be working on at one time. I won't get it all done, but that's what I'll be working on. I have the relaxed movement on my TV because I like to have some copyright-free music playing in the background. So that's the channel that I have on. I did a refill on all my drills. I still have a few packages left over, but I am using Winter Candy Apple Putty, and this is by Morin, Morin. It smells, oh my God, so wonderful. It's so nice that Putty and I have become friends, and because I love the aromatherapy. And here is my timer, which I can't have anywhere near me because I will hit the timer. So I'll be starting that in a second. I'm just going to get my phone stand set up. I'm going to be right here, and I might be even standing for some of this because I'll tell you, this is a big piece, and there's a lot of standing. There's a lot of sitting that goes on. I'm probably going to be silent for while I'm working, and I'll move into the voiceover and into the reading for today for Self-Care Sunday. So get out your WUP if you like, or you can listen to this like a podcast, or you can work along with me. Okay, hitting my timer. Good morning, good evening, wherever it is you are in the world watching this. I'm just getting myself set up to begin diamond painting here. I have my timer and drills all ready to go. Today I slept in with my husband, something we both needed badly. Then when we got up, we had coffee and he lit a fire and we finished the movie we fell asleep on Saturday night. An oldie, Malice, with Nicole Kidman and Alec Baldwin. A very young and gorgeous Alec Baldwin, I may add. If you're watching this in the evening, Self-Care Sunday, the evening edition, it's a nice way to cruise into Monday morning because it may be lingering, in your mind. And Monday morning has the capability of causing that frenzy we sometimes get. Maybe we get it all the time. I know a few people that would get Sunday night anxiety because Monday was looming. If my future self opened this Self-Care Sunday up with Foofy, it was something that I was thinking while I was reading the reading from Mark Nepos. And I wanted to open Self-Care Sunday with my sweet little Foofy. He's sitting on the windowsill in my kitchen, looking out at the birds, which was the day before, very rainy, very cold, very windy Saturday. And this is one of his favorite pastimes. He watches the birds as they fly into the yard and out again, grabbing little bites of food I have left out for them. He calls them in the sweetest little cry that just tugs at my heart. His previous owner shared with me a clip of Foofy with their friends, little parakeet. And the parakeet and Foofy, they would let the parakeet out of the cage, a little parakeet, and they would play together. I think as he gazes out the window, he may have that memory because he really wants to go outside, which we do allow him to do with a jacket and a little leash. But he wants to go out, and he's so curious when he's outside, and it's almost like he wants to fly and play with these little birds. But today, with the rain and the birds were just so, oh gosh, so wet and so cold, his cries were a little distressed. This weather yesterday was just a constant downpouring of rain, and these little birds know when I come into my kitchen in the morning and they kind of gather in my yard. They sense it. They gather in my yard and they wait for me to come out and throw some bread. Today, with them being, yesterday actually, with them being so wet and cold, they still were gathering for bread, retrieving it and they were taking it to a dry place to eat. And I think I caught a moment where the bird was landed on our railing, and Fufi looked at this little bird as if waiting for her to turn around and acknowledge him like a long-lost friend. This month is so special in the Book of Awakening. I love the month of March. I just love where Mark Nepos went with his thoughts. And in this reading from March the 23rd, Never Knowing Where We Fly, he was writing about birds. So if you're following along in your own copy, Never Knowing Where We Are Flying was so fitting for this rainy Saturday afternoon, when you never know what March may present you with, and when your cat is on the windowsill calling to the birds in the yard. I have made a little notation underneath that title. Mark added a little quote that birds learn how to fly, never knowing where flight will take them. And I've always had that spirit. You know, plans and maps and destination times were a little concerned to me when I was free from those restrictions. Of course, they have their time and place, but whenever I traveled anywhere or lived anywhere, you know, I lived in Florida for a while when my son was little. And, you know, I kind of just went with the flow. You know, I would get on my bike, and Josh was little, so he was, you know, riding in his little bike seat behind me. And we just kind of, you know, I knew where I was going, you know, how to get back to where I lived at, but we kind of just drove along the coast, and we went out and we explored things. And I hopped on the school bus with him as like a school mom to go on these little expeditions with the kids. But when I lived in New York, Josh also came out to live with me for a while. He was right out of high school. He didn't stay long. He actually moved to a different borough. I was in Manhattan. He was in Brooklyn. And I would, you know, love getting lost. You know, maybe I took the wrong subway train, which I did often. But I didn't just switch platforms. I kind of got out and looked around. And, you know, you can spend a whole day on a city block in New York and just be lost. And I found the most wonderful things that I wasn't looking for. I found the most wonderful things and discovered things that I wasn't looking for. So my spirit has always been an explorer, whether I was traveling, moving around, starting a business, or just diamond painting at my desk. When you do what you love, your heart does take wing, because you are giving it the room, the much needed room that it needs to unfurl, I guess would be the best word for it. I think that our hearts and our spirits are so tightly wound that when we do that yoga class, or we sit at our desk diamond painting and we're just lost, time is just lost to us, we, you know, kind of find that room in our body, and it is the wings of our heart and our spirit just unfurling and taking flight for a little while. So going into the first paragraph of Never Knowing Where We Fly, Mark writes, "There is a deep and humbling lesson in the way of birds. Their wings grow and stretch and span patches of air, first tentatively and then with confidence. They lift, they pump, they glide, they land. It seems for birds it is an act of flying that is the goal. True, they migrate and seek out food, but when flying, there is a sense that being aloft is their true destination." And I can sense the truth in those words. Have there been times in your life when you felt that same sense of flying, of being aloft, of being above the earth? It's a wonderful feeling to leave it all behind. And you know it, you know, if you ever got lost, where time just kind of got away from you, and you're maybe in your diamond painting, and and you're kind of like, you just kind of let it all go. You just kind of let the world go, and you don't really realize how much time has gone by. And I know that I'm sitting here with a timer right now, and I'm kind of like, I'm timing how long it's taking me to do a particular block that I have measured out, whether it's a 5 by 5 centimeter or a 10 by 10 centimeter, just to know, like there's that thing with time of just knowing how long would it take me to do this particular block. But I'm not rushing. I'm still kind of getting lost in what it is that I'm doing. You can tell, like, I'm placing my drills and I'm fiddling with this big section. I'm also standing up here, and this is something that I've never done diamond painting, but this is such a huge canvas. And I didn't want to turn it all the way around, which eventually I do because my back starts hurting, and I am leaning with my forearm to diamond paint here, and I feel the little pinches of I had all little square drill marks in my forearm here also, so it did get a little uncomfortable after a while, and I do eventually turn that around, but it's a wonderful feeling to leave it all behind. And everything that you leave behind, everything that you put down for this little block of time that you have for yourself, whether you know the block of time, like I know, like maybe a 5 by 5 centimeter square is going to take me 20 minutes to a half an hour, I still leave my cares behind. And I know that the things that I drop down, it's going to be there when I land back down. And the question in my mind is, do I pick it back up? Right? Because something also happens in that span of time that we get lost in what it is that we enjoy doing. And I do not think that it's wise that we pick this stuff back up. Sometimes we just do because it's an automatic thing. Okay, let me get back to what I was doing in my daily life. But if you have that moment of pause where something in your meditative state, because diamond painting is a meditative state, if you have that luxury of being able to get lost in your work, where maybe you have this quiet time. I usually put music on in the background, and I just get lost because John's out at work, so there's not little ones around, there's not too much distraction. So if you have that 20-30 minutes to get lost where your mind just goes on a hiatus, you don't have to think with diamond painting. You know where you're going, you know the color drill that you're using, you know where it goes, so there's not much thought. So your mind kind of does its own unraveling too, not just the wings of your heart and your spirit, but also your mind gets that opportunity to unravel. And so, why I want you to pause and think about picking the things up that you left behind is because there's a change that happens in you. You're not the same person you were when you put those things down. And so why pick them back up? I mean, some of them are responsibilities that we have to pick up, but some of them are just a dead skin that we've shed. And then there are times, and I've done this myself, where I try to pick that skin back up and put it back on. And I think that I came to that realization with having COVID. I keep trying to get back to where I was, but I'm not the same person that I was pre-COVID. Something happened to me, something in my body and my mind changed. And why do I keep trying to pick up that old me and put her back on? How many times do we try to go back to the way that it was? But that was you then, and this is you now. And you can kind of think of it as a snapshot, like a picture in a photo album. Remember photo albums? If you're young, you probably don't, because everything is on these devices that we hold. And for those of us that do remember photo albums, our family most likely put a title on the binding of the photo album. Elisa, age 3, Elisa, kindergarten. We had lots of photo albums of moments that we captured. And if you think of these moments where your mind and your heart and your spirit took flight, you most certainly emerge from those moments a completely different person. You've come to new thoughts and ideas and resolutions of maybe conflicts that you're in, or maybe troubles or turmoils, and your mind has had a chance to work them through. So you certainly emerge as a different person, and you can think of that old person and this new one as a snapshot in a photo album. And just think about all the exciting photo albums that you're going to get an opportunity to fill. Okay, back to the reading here. I think I'm on the second paragraph. Yes, I am. Unlike birds, we confuse our time on Earth again and again with obsessions of where we are going, often to the point that we frustrate and stall our human ability to fly. We frequently tame and hush our need to love, to learn, to know the truth of spirit, until we can be assured that our efforts will take us somewhere. All these conditions and hesitations and yes buts and what ifs turn the human journey upside down, never letting the heart, wing that it is, truly unfold. I think in this paragraph, Mark is speaking of all the things we want to do. Some of us have a bucket list. Those things that are on, the things that we want to do are what keep our heart right side up and keep this journey of life fulfilling and interesting. Those tugs to go here, to do that, learn this or that are part of the journey in remembering and forgetting we talk about here and there on Self-Care Sunday. I believe what you learn, or what your heart tugs you to learn, whether it's, learn the piano, learn a language, learn how to diamond paint. They're just things that we knew all the time and we forgot. And now we are remembering. We obsess about where we are going. And where are we going, really? We're fulfilling our duties and our chores and our obligations, and yet our heart is tugging us to maybe rest, to maybe put this on our list, because we put exercise on the list to exercise our bodies and make our bodies feel unraveled. This seems to be the word today. And unwound from the knots and the tension that we hold in our body, which is very good. But we have to remember our heart and spirit also have those little knots that they want to unravel. They want to be creative. And our creativity is a reflection of the thoughts and the ideas that we breathe life into, which is why I always say, create the world that you want to live in. Those walks along the beach, bring home a seashell and put it on your desk to remind you of that moment, that snapshot in time. And all those places where you seem to pause a little bit longer when you're there, you feel a little bit relaxed when you're there, bring something back with you and create it around your environment as these little reminders. Actually, people say, why do you, there was a question posed once in a group discussion that I was part of based on creativity, and it had to do with collecting. And they were talking about it being symbolic. And it's symbolic of the time that maybe I went away on an adventure by myself, which I did a lot when I was younger, or places that me and John, push a pin into that we're looking to travel to, and we take something back with us to say, oh, you know what, here's that thing that I have that remember the time. How many of us collect matchbooks of places that we are. And my aunt had a whole collection. She actually had a binder full of matchboxes of all the places. And she didn't smoke. And she didn't like candles either. But she had this thing about collecting matchbooks, right? Is that what they're called? Yeah, matchbooks of places that she was. And I kept them. I kept this binder full of all the places that she had been. So bring that. I'm sure she flipped through it too. I'm sure she flipped through all those places and all the little notes that she inscribed on the inside, and it took her back in time. Sure, it's nice to go back and reflect. Just don't live there. Just come back to the present, but have those little memories that maybe inspire or that you want to relive for the moment. So I'm going to move on. I think we are on, we're on paragraph 4. Yet, without consideration or reservation, it is simply the presence of light that stirs birds to sing and lift. They do not understand concepts such as holding back or only investing if the return seems certain. In this, we are the only creatures that seek out guarantees, and in doing so, we snuff the spark that is discovery. I think it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, travel without a map. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about my personality. It bothers most of my friends because they have that anxiety of wanting to know where they're going and what time they're going to get there and yada, 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 all the other things that are rushing through their mind, where I just really like taking my time. In any of the places I had ever been, and I'm remembering when I took a cruise and we left from New York and we stopped in Florida, and everybody was going to Cape Canaveral, and I had been there. I lived in Florida, so I had done that when Josh was little. And I said, I'm just going to call an Uber. And you know where I want to go? I looked at it and it wasn't that far away. I want to go to Cocoa Beach. I want to see where I Dream of Jeannie was filmed. And we took an Uber and we got shuttled off to Cocoa Beach. And it wasn't that far away that we actually walked back. But Cocoa Beach was so small and quaint and cute and not anything that I had expected. And of course, I Dream of Jeannie was everywhere. And we walked back, and the friends that we had made on the ship were like, what did you two get up to? We didn't see you on any of the tour buses. And I'm like, no, I called an Uber, went over to Cocoa Beach. We had a lovely lunch, with the locals, and they had a band. And they were like, you took an Uber? And I'm like, yeah. Like, we're still in the States. And it was so funny that because they came off of a cruise ship, it was almost like they forgot they were still in the States. And that if they wanted to go anywhere, they had to take a tour bus to go. So that's what I like to do when I travel. I like to know where are the locals and what are they doing and what are they eating and just, get a real taste of where it is that I am, where I'm traveling to, and really bring that flavor. And there are places that when I take a cruise and we dock in San Juan, there's a place called Raíces. That's right where the cruise ship docks, and everybody goes by it because they're going to the place where they can get pina coladas, and this place makes the best pina coladas anywhere, but everybody just walks by it. And how I learned about it was talking to the people that worked on the cruise ship. They gave me the 411 on that one. So let's continue with Mark. Just how often do we cripple ourselves by not letting love with all its risks teach us how to fly? How many times do our hearts stall because we won't let the wingspan of our passion open us up fully to our gifts? How frequently do we search for a song of guidance that can only come from inside of us? So it was starting to let up with the rain, and I noticed that the birds were back again, and they were outside and they were chirping. So it was almost like, because the clouds were starting to part and the light was starting to shine through, which is their cue. Like, like Mark said, the only thing that the birds need is light, and they take flight. Where we kind of confuse ourselves and we frustrate and stall our human ability to fly. And so the birds were gathering, and having this reading so fresh in my mind, I started to think about it, and the birds chirp, and then other birds start to come, chirp along in. They start to gather in the yard, and it's like they're signaling us, not just me, but almost like it's okay. Rain stop, open your doors, come outside, grab this sunshine. And Foofy heard it, and he's back. He's on his ledge, and he is watching the birds, and even his little distressed cries that we were listening to earlier changed. They were more like, he was more like really happy to see them back, and they were chirping and happy, and he sensed that. And he was still crying for them, but it wasn't anything like it was before when they were just out getting hit by raindrops. I know that over the years, through fear and expectation, Mark writes, my mind has gathered and hoarded places I needed to go, things I needed to have, selves I needed to be. But here I am, without most of them, the goals and wants all used up in learning how to love. So try as I do to manage, imagine, and construct where I am headed. Try as I will to plan and know what this life of feeling means. It is the pulse of what I feel itself that lifts me into spirit. In truth, wings don't grow any differently to fit south or east or west, and our lives, no matter how we train ourselves, are more fundamental than any direction of worldly ambition. We, like the birds, are meant to fly and sing, that's all. And all our plans and schemes are twigs of a nest that once outgrown, we leave. And that last line just reminded me of the things that I've outgrown. Every time I sit down, every time I diamond paint, every time I do a meditation, every time I do yoga, they're very, again, meditative things that I do. Even if you're just sitting and reading with a book, I find it for me, so distracting to read. I read the same sentence over and over and over again, or my eyes start to close. But some of you really enjoy reading so much, it kind of takes you away to another place, and you get involved. That's my husband. He gets involved in characters and the story, and I'll tell you, he's not here. He's here in front of me, and I see him, but I know when he's really engrossed in a book, and his mind just takes flight. So it just reminded me of why when my husband closes the book and he wants to talk about it, and he's changed. He's changed by something that he's read. He's changed by something he didn't know. It was like that when we sat down for the Scorsese movie, Flowers of the Killer Moon. Now, he's done so much reading on the American Indians, and he didn't know this story. And he was totally changed by that. He went out and he bought every book that he can find on this certain tribe, and he just fell into it and engrossed himself in it. So these are the activities that I love to do. And there's no going back to who you were. Just like Mark said in the last line, that all our plans and schemes are twigs of a nest that, once outgrown, we leave. And just like all the worries and all the obligations that we think we have, not the ones that we truly have, but the ones, those ones that you think you have to do because you're worried about what someone else might think and what someone else might say, all those obligations are the ones that we have to let go of. Your life belongs to you. It belongs to no one else, and you don't have to explain that to anyone. at all. My life belongs to me. What I do at my minutes are no one's business but my own. What I do at my choices, I get in bed at night and put my head on the pillow, and either my head is going to rest restfully, or it's going to twist me up in knots. And I had too many nights of being twisted up in knots because I made a decision that I really was not comfortable with. So you're not alone if you're going through that. I hope that you have someone in your life that just allows you to speak and just hears you and just doesn't, throw any judgment on you, and just allows you to feel the way that you feel and not be apologetic about it. It's really difficult to find people like that, because I think that we're living in a time where there's all this transparency that has to happen. And I think we've crossed the boundary when it comes to transparency. Not everything needs to be open to everyone else's judgment or opinion. And it's okay to keep things to yourself or discuss it with a trusted friend. And that's what I wish for all of you. And I'm just taking a peek at my diamond painting here. And I will tell you, I think am I still really leaning over? Yeah, I really am. I still really am leaning over this portrait here. And this is a huge block of one color. And, you would think, wow, this is a really juicy part to get to. But I find that sometimes color blocking is just as challenging as confetti. I think with confetti, you get that break where you just it's okay, it's time to change the color. And I'm going back to maybe earlier in this video. No, I think it was yesterday's video when I was showing you what I got at the dollar store. And the dollar store had these, they're buying out Bed Bath & Beyond, I think went out of business. Yeah. And I got these sprays that I think maybe room freshener sprays that I think maybe came from Bed Bath & Beyond, because it was a wizard. And they are having a lot of organizational items going to be popping up in your dollar store. And I was thinking about the Lazy Susans that they have. And I was like, I have a few extra of those little Lazy Susans. They might be about 6 or 9 inches in diameter. And I was thinking, when I get a piece of, I finally turned the painting around. I had it with all the pock marks from the drills in my arms and my back hurting. So I was thinking that I would use one of those Lazy Susans, and I would use them for my confetti and pull out all the drills and just put them on this Lazy Susan and kind of make it a little bit easier. I was also watching the Diamond Daughter at Corey, and she had a system where she has all trays now. So when she kits up in all trays, and she has a label. I don't know what kind of system it is. It might just be her own, because I know Corey does have an Etsy store where she was making trays. And so maybe she just, bought a bunch of her own, and, she had about 60 trays that she was using for her project that she was doing. And she was like, this just makes life so much easier. Can you imagine that all you have to do is pull a tray out of I'm sure she has a system where the trays are standing, and just pull out that tray, and there it is. And you already have it in the tray. You have to keep opening and closing, because I'll tell you, I love my system that I have. However, I'm always afraid that I'm going to knock them over or, spill them in some way. So what I really enjoy with Mark Nepos, very brief reflections on a day and a topic. March to me seems to be very much, it's very deeper in introspection of the self, and really looking at things, at nature, and bringing them into your life. And he's done a lot with birds, which I really, really, really enjoy. Observing birds, that is. And what I really like about this book, and my book is actually, you might hear a lot of rumbling in the background, it's because it's falling apart. I've had this book probably going on 7 years now, and all its pages are worn and folded and little creases at the top. And I love that. I love these little bookmarks and stuff that I have inside of readings that I love and I refer back to often. And I would like to get this book bound. However, I just love that it's so loved and so used and so much a cherished part of my collection of books. But what I love about this book is that I went to the front of the book and there is no index. It's not, I don't think that he intentionally wanted to have like each month be about one thing. But I find that March pretty much is. I find that a lot of the pages in March are folded over and they kind of have a vein that they're running through. But I also like in the back of the book that Mark has like a little homework for you, and he's also a journaler, and so I had liked that too. And he gave some guidance upon journaling, and I like that at the end of every reading, you can't help but take a deep breath when you read this book. Whether you've read a paragraph can stop you. I've had paragraphs really like just bring me to my knees and just feel so validated by what he wrote, that this is what I've been feeling and this is what I've been trying to communicate and convey. And I feel validated in his words. And if you find yourself, because there are also readings that I kind of gulp down like every paragraph because he's hitting the mark in each one of his words and what he's saying about the topic, or he just has a way of putting words together so beautifully and completing an emotion in a sentence, because most of us just kind of, ramble on when we feel something. I do that. I am trying to get better at it, but we take so much, because I think that we don't take the time to pause. So we know that we feel something, but we don't know how to put it into words. And I think that comes when we don't take the time to pause, to really sit with ourselves. And I don't mean these long, believe me, I've done them. I did them during the course of my teacher training. I did 5-hour meditations, whether they were sitting meditations with your eyes. I thought, oh, great, eyes closed, great, I'll just fall out, But my meditations were open-eyed meditations where you're just staring at a point in the floor for 5 hours, or walking meditations where you ignite your senses to really take part in the walk with your eyes, with your sense of smell, with what you are feeling, your clothes against your skin, like any kind of, sometimes you can smell something that brings a flavor into your mouth, so I've done all those things. But when we really take the time to even 3 minutes, 1 minute to sit with ourselves and maybe just read a paragraph, and how does that resonate with you? And again, getting back to the timer that I have on my desk, and timers that I would use when I was teaching yoga that I got from Amazon, these little hourglass timers. You'd be surprised. And I think from teaching and like I would teach yin yoga, and the poses would be 3 minutes long to hold them. And sometimes they would fly back by really quickly, and sometimes they would just drag on. And it depends on the posture that you're in. I, of course, practiced my yoga program before I taught it because I wanted to know how it felt in my body. And those poses that were challenging, and they shift and they change. Believe me, with whatever it is that you're going through in your life. I love heart openers. I love being in a heart opener posture. But when I was struggling in my life, a heart opener would bring me to tears. I felt like my chest was being cracked open. It was so tight and tense and so much emotion on the surface of my heart that I couldn't help that when I got into a heart bench where you have a block in between your shoulder blades and a block behind your head, that is such a beautiful posture because your chest is opening, your shoulders are falling away from your body, and your collarbones are opening. It's such a wonderful stretch to have your heart, the back of your heart, supported and opening. And every time I got into that posture when it was difficult for me to open my heart because I had been hurt or I had been disappointed, just tears would run down the sides of my face. So 3 minutes felt like 30 minutes. So maybe we all have these watches and phones. Maybe you just read something, and if you read something from this book, stop, pause, let it sink in. Why is it resonating with you? What does it mean? Is it something, a distant memory that you've forgotten? Is it something that you've just remembered? Again, forgetting hurries and remembering slows down. So in those moments when you're diamond painting or you're maybe taking a moment to read something inspirational and uplifting, or maybe you're just listening to a favorite song. Why is it a favorite song? What is it about the words and the music? That's a whole other language that you love about this song. So I think slowing down helps us process those emotions so that when we're confronted with them, if we have the time to process them in private in our own time, when we're confronted with them, maybe publicly, maybe with just a one-on-one, maybe with a situation with a person that kind of like knocks us off our game because we're trying to say something and they get us so emotionally upset, we're stutter stepping and we can't find the words, and and they kind of walk away with that gleeful look on their face that they've destroyed you again. That does happen. I've had it happen to me multiple times. And then I leave and I feel hurt and abandoned because I have my issues. And I feel that I'm misunderstood. But really, I think it comes from me not being able to communicate in a way that I can make the other person understand. Because when you communicate, when you're spending this time with yourself and you're really getting your thoughts and your feelings together in a way that you write, because a lot of us, I know myself in particular, I really don't know what I'm feeling until I write it. And I have a hard time sometimes writing because the feeling is coming up and I'm like, Elisa, just write it. Just write it. You could burn it after. You could throw paint on it on top of it if you want to. There's a way that you can hide what it is that you've written. If you're afraid that someone's going to look at your journal, keep some paint around and just paint over it. But give yourself that room to process what it is that you've just written, because sometimes you have to read it back. You got to see your own words to know what it is what you're feeling. That line is so true. That quote is so true. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that I think until I write and read what I've wrote down. Right? It goes something like that. I don't know what I think until I read what I wrote. So true, and it's so liberating. And it's like, there's something with the heart and the hand that go together, that when you write something down and you're able to digest it looking at your own words, it's so eye-opening. And so take that time for yourself, get your thoughts and your feelings together so that you can communicate fully what it is that you're feeling. And then you really get to make the judgment call if it is a person that you're having a problem dealing with. I communicated to you fully I expressed to you. I took up space to tell you what it is that I am feeling in a way that I was centered and focused. And now it's your turn to step up. The smirk isn't going to work anymore. The turning heel and walking away gleefully isn't going to work anymore, because now visually I'm seeing you. I couldn't really see you before because I was so lost in my own world of trying to express myself. But now I see you. Now my eyes are fully on you. So sometimes that's what we're going through. And I'm trying to think of all these scenarios of what you may be going through to kind of help you through those steps. But at the end of this reading that Mark gave, and I think maybe just reading through it fully without me pausing in between is something that I want to do here. There is a deep and humbling lesson in the way of birds. Their wings grow and stretch and span patches of air. First tentatively and then with confidence. They lift, they pump, they glide, they land. It seems for birds it is an act of flying that is the goal. True, they migrate and seek out food, but when flying, there is a sense that being aloft is their true destination. Unlike birds, we confuse our time on Earth again and again with obsessions of where we are going, often to the point that we frustrate and stall our human ability to fly. We frequently tame and hush our need to love, to learn, to know the truth of spirit, until we can be assured that our efforts will take us somewhere. All these conditions and hesitations and yes buts and what ifs turn the human journey upside down, never letting the heart, winged that it is, truly unfold. Yet, without consideration or reservation, it is simply the presence of light that stirs birds to sing and lift. They do not understand concepts such as holding back or only investing if the return seems certain. In this, we are the only creatures that seek out guarantees, and in doing so, we snuff the spark that is discovery. Just how often do we cripple ourselves by not letting love with all its risks teach us how to fly? How many times do our hearts stall because we won't let the wingspan of our passion open us up fully into our gifts? How frequently do we search for a song of guidance that can only come from inside us? I know that over the years, through fear and expectation, my mind has gathered and hoarded places I needed to go, things I needed to have, selves I needed to be. But here I am, without most of them, the goals and wants all used up in learning how to love. So try as I do to imagine and construct where I am headed, try as I will to plan and know what this life of feeling means. It is the pulse of what I feel itself that lifts me into spirit. In truth, wings don't grow any differently to fit south or east or west, and our lives, no matter how we train ourselves, are more fundamental than any direction of worldly ambition. We, like birds, are meant to fly and sing, that's all, and our plans and schemes are twigs of a nest that once outgrown, we leave. The final process of these readings is the little bullets that Mark puts at the end of each one of his readings. And at the end of this reading, he has a little suggestion to meditate on some desire that you have hesitated to give life to. It might be your want to dance or play the piano. So, what is something that you want, and can you sit with it? Can you breathe into it? Can you imagine yourself to it, doing it? Is there hesitation? Is there fear? Can you tap into whatever it is coming up for you? Fear is what stops us most of the time. And as Mark says in his closing, wings can only fly if they flap. Is there an impulse to travel somewhere that is calling you, or an urge to get to know someone, even yourself? Breathe, letting the feeling rise unencumbered. And as you breathe, focus. If there is hesitation, focus on that hesitation. It might stem from a fear of failure or rejection or a fear of the unknown. Breathe through your hesitation, knowing that just as wings can fly if they flap, your ability to live deep, to be in relation to other life, will grow only if you try. When I think of desires and wants and things that I feel pulling me, I've never done a bucket list, but I imagine that that's what it would be like. If you look at a bucket list, it's desires. Those are the things that are, if you were going to make a bucket list, if you don't have one already, those are the things that makes your heart happy, makes you feel that little lift, makes you feel aloft in the way when you write it down of something that you want to do. I want to travel to Arizona. It's something that from when I was younger, I had this dream that kept coming to me of this place with like red clay and red dirt. And I saw myself younger than I actually was. And I was dressed in black jeans and a black top, and I had this bandana tied around my neck, which I would never do. Never. Don't like anything tied around my neck, and it was wet. And I actually saw myself in this dream walk over to this little cool stream of water and put the bandana in and tie it around my neck. And I thought, oh, I would never do that. It would just drive me crazy. And I looked down, and I had boots on, something else I don't wear, boots, and they were dirty and dusty. And I'm like, where is this place? Where am I at? And it was windy, and I was sweaty and dirty, and my hair was in a ponytail. And I would have this dream over and over and over and over again. And at the time, I was part of this meditation circle, and it was like a drumming meditation. And here it is, it's coming up again. And when I discussed it with the group, and they all were like, oh, you had another life. That's another life. That's a calling from another life. And I don't know that I believe in previous lives or not. I think at one time I kind of maybe dabbled in the idea. Oh my, I felt you guys coming to the end here, rooting for me. Doing the end of this blue. I don't think I've ever done a color block that big, though I think I have, or I don't know, maybe it was because I decided to stand up and it was just getting to be a little bit too much on my back, and so I had to turn things around. And then I had this guy. He's exhausted from the birds. He was licking my arm because John brought him upstairs, but he won't go upstairs without me, so he's ready. This is his communication to me that it's time to go to bed. I just love him to death. So I hope you had a wonderful self-care Sunday. And I'm going to look at my time, even though I didn't look at it when I started. Just to see. 6:11. I know it was 5 something when I started. I should have looked at it. So I'm wishing you a happy Sunday, and me and the foof. I'm going to call it a night, even though it's like, oh God, it's 6:08 right now. 6:08 on a Saturday night, but we'll go hang out upstairs for a little bit. Create the world that you want to live in, and I will see you soon. Bye. I'm sorry that I ran over with my talking about this previous dream that I had of Arizona, but I believe that it is a tug of my heart telling me that there's something there waiting for me in Arizona. So that was the conclusion of my dream, and I guess I'm going to start a bucket list. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate the time that you spend with me, and enjoy your Sunday. Fun day. Bye.